Hello everyone, it's Mrs. Smith here, back for another RE community learning session. This is session 8, so if you haven't completed session 1 to 7, then please go back and do those ones first before joining this one. Now, today we are continuing to explore the theme of community. We're thinking about how different communities of different religions and worldviews work, what they believe, how they put things into action, and we're hoping to build up our knowledge and expand our minds with their values and useful hints and tips and tools to help us with our own understanding of how to work in community. Now, today we are wanting you to focus on a completely different worldview, not necessarily religious. So we're going to be tackling that one in a bit. But before that, let's think back to the last session when we were thinking about Christians and how what they believe and what they follow and how they live in community with one another. We talked about the Beatitudes, which is a teaching, a part of Jesus' teaching. And I wonder what you've written on your helping hand as a reminder from the faith about what you want to remember. I reminded myself of the teaching tool of being kind and gentle and standing up for what is right and how that helps a community. So definitely keep hold of your helping hands because we'll be adding to that again later today. So today we're focusing on humanists and how they follow rules to live in community with others and the world around them. So I'm just going to share my screen with you so that we know what we're doing today. Here we go. So that's our theme for today's lesson. And you are going to need the following items. So 3 pieces of paper, lined or plain, a pencil or a pen, colouring pencils if you've got them, they just help with making things look pretty, and your helping hand from your last session. Pause the video here to go and get those things so you're all ready. Excellent. Right, today, first of all, I want you to think about villains. Think about that word villain. Where have you come across the word villain? Potentially in your story writing that you've done at school before, or maybe even when you've been watching the odd Disney film. That's what I want us to think about first. I want you to think about the villains that maybe crop up in films or TV programs that you love to watch. I've got some pictures on my screen that I'm going to share with you now of some that I've thought about that I've seen in films and on TV. Here are some villains that I thought we could discuss today. And so I've got the likes of Scar from Lion King. I've got Grogu before he becomes kind and nice from all the Minion films and what have you, and Despicable Me. I've got Ursula the witch from Little Mermaid, one of my personal favourite Disney films. We've got Hook, we've got Jafar from Aladdin, we've got Cruella de Vil from the Dalmatian films. So lots of characters that would be cast as villains in those films. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to choose 3 of the villains, either the ones that I've given you on the screen or ones that you know from your own films that you've seen. And I want you to have a go at thinking about the answers to these questions. Okay, what makes these characters bad? What rules do they break? And what does their breaking of a code for living lead to? So 3 questions there. I wonder if I'd put them on your screen. Ready? Here we go. We're going to pause in a second and I want you to jot down on a piece of paper what makes these characters bad? What rules do they break? And what does their breaking of a code for living lead to? Pause the video here to see if you can answer those questions. Great thinking, everyone. I've been having a think about Scar from the character of Scar from Disney's Lion King that is on the screen there. I wonder whether I've got some more pictures of him there. And I've been thinking about the kind of villain that he is in the film. He is selfish. He wants the kingdom for himself. He wants to rule. He doesn't really think about anyone else in the situation. He's very ambitious. He wants to be the cream of the crop. He wants to get to the top, does Scar. and he's a liar. So he tells Simba, well, your dad's gone off here, or you can't do that. He tells him sneaky little lies. Now, these things lead him to kill his brother, the original king, lion, king of the jungle. And actually, that's not the greatest start for Simba, who's trying to work his way in the world. And Scar, the villain, does not help the situation one bit. All those things that lead him to kill his brother are really, really, really significant to his villainous character. Now, the values that we choose to have a huge impact on our outwards behaviours. Let's think back to our big target board, our worldview, those core important values right in the centre, then having the impact on our behaviours, the outer circle looking out. Really, really important that we can see how those values start right at the core. They then have that huge impact. For example, choosing to be selfish, believing that being selfish is the only way, or choosing to lie results in some very bad behaviour, just like Scar does in the film. So I wonder, do you think there are such things as naughty or bad thoughts? I wonder whether jealousy, a bit of a key word there, jealousy, or hatred, which is purposefully hating someone, or being greedy even, start in our minds and sometimes lead to the actions as well. In films or TV, the thought is often the beginning of the deed. So, I want us to have a think now about being naughty. This is probably the only time a teacher will ever tell you to think about being naughty. And in fact, I want you to come up with a guide to naughtiness. So in a moment, I want you to get a piece of paper and I want you to make a list of 5 things that you think are quite naughty or bad. You can include any naughty thoughts and maybe some actions. I've got some examples here. Here's a guide, one of mine. Squeeze all my sister's special paints on the floor and mix them up. I think that's quite naughty, quite bad, devious of me. Number 2, delete all my mum's programs off the TV. Again, quite naughty. See what you can come up with. I've got sellotape my big sister to her bed. These are quite extreme, aren't they? What about this one? Actually starts off quite nice, but not very good at the end. Make everyone spaghetti, but use worms instead. I'm sure you're thinking of some quite bad things to do one. What about this one? Not clean my teeth for 5 days. Oh, I would hate to do that. So those are just some ideas. So what I want you to do now is come up with a list of basically a guide to naughtiness, at least 5 things that you think are super naughty, super bad, a bit like my examples. And as you write your list, I want you to think about what the effects or the consequences, think back to what we've already been learning already over these sessions. What are the consequences of these naughty things? So pause the video here and have a go at writing your guide. Fantastic. I'm sure you have written some of the most interesting guides to being naughty ever. And I wish if we had the opportunity for you to send them to me, because I would love to see these guides. It would be brilliant to read what you think. Now, I wonder, what makes an action naughty or bad? You see, I think that naughty or bad actions or words often hurt other people or animals. Another thing to think about is whether people sometimes hurt themselves when they're being naughty. Maybe some of you have heard of that word guilt. That maybe plays on your heart and your mind when you know you've done something wrong and you really feel bad about it inside, but you don't really know what to do with it. And it almost hurts you more than it hurts others sometimes. Now, when it comes to thinking about humanists, they often think that, well, they think that we can work out what is naughty by thinking about whether our actions will hurt someone or not. very similar to a Hinduism way of looking at actions and consequences that we've shared already. Now, I wonder, we've looked at lots of different religions. We've looked at Christianity, Sikhism, Hinduism. We've looked at a little bit of Islam right at the start. But is everyone part of a religion? Many religious people try to be good with God, but others think that you can be good without God. Now, many people in the world do not believe in a God, like the religions we've looked at so far in our community sessions, but they do believe in humanity. Some of these people call themselves humanists. They are all different, and many say, I don't believe in religion, but I do believe in morality. That means knowing the difference between right and wrong, and doing good. Or they might say, I don't believe in any gods, but I do believe in humanity. So I'm just going to share some of those phrases on the screen now. Oh, we've got Scar back again. Here we go. So that's just a summary of what I've just explained. So that phrase, I don't believe in religion, but I do believe in morality and doing good. Or I don't believe in any gods, but I do believe in humanity. Now, something that most humanists believe is that if they are good, then genuinely, then they will be happier in life. Now, I wonder, think about the ways that we make rules or actions to help us be good. You might have a class charter of rules in your classrooms, or you might have some specific school rules that you know you follow in order to do good and to make things work in the school. But what I want you to do now is, on a piece of paper, or carry on the next bit of the paper, I want you to jot down a sentence or two to answer this question. What rules do you think make most people happy? I'll say that again. What rules do you think make most people happy? Pause the video here to write a sentence or two about what you think. Great. Now, I wonder if you had thought about noticing other people's happiness is just as important as your own happiness. Not thinking, I mean, humanism is a way of thinking that it's not being selfish. They don't believe that they are selfish about thinking about only themselves when they come to thinking about living, because it's about happiness, not just for you, not just for me, but for all humanity. So humanism is not a selfish thing, it's thinking about happiness for all people. Now, on your piece of paper, I would like you to write down one rule for people to follow if they want a happier world. You could decorate this as a one rule, as a reminder, and pin it up somewhere in your home if you'd like a poster. But I want you to come up with one rule that will make sure that everyone's happy. And if people follow that one rule, they will have a happier world. Pause the video here to have a go at drawing your rule poster. Great. I wish I could see your rules for making a happier world, but I'm sure you've done a fantastic job. Now, did you know that a person often has a code for living inside their head or inside their hearts that helps them choose what's right and what's wrong, and making sure that they choose the good things and say no to the bad things? Humanist people, or people who believe they're humanists, work out their own rules for living by thinking carefully and trying not to hurt other people. So let's have a look now at what some of the codes for living that humanists believe. I'm just going to again share my screen. So here are some of the rules that they think makes people be good, or allows people to think about choosing the good thing. So be honest, be generous, use your mind, tell the truth, be thoughtful, think first, then act, do to other people what you would like them to do to you. Now have a think about these rules These are the kind of rules or ideals that humanists try to live by. It is good to remember that these are not rules given by a higher authority, such as God, like Christianity would respond to. And I mentioned in the last session, or for those who are Sikhs or Hindus. Humanists believe that this is not God-given rules that they're following. They believe that these are just great rules to follow to support all of humanity. So here's a challenge for you now. I would like you to order these 6 statements in order of most important down to least important. I don't mind if you want to number them and then put the numbers in order of most to least, or whether you want to write them out in order of most to least. It is up to you. But we're looking at how important, which one would you put as the most important? It's almost going back to when we were doing our target board. What would you put right in the center as being the most important rule to follow, and then go down to the least important? Pause the video here to give it a go. Fantastic. I wonder if you've put them in the same order as someone else has done who's watching this video now. Remember, there's no wrong answers or right answers here. This is the best bit about RE. It's all about getting us thinking. Now, though, here's your second challenge. I want to see if you can put them in order of the hardest to keep down to the easiest to keep. So again, write them out or number them, whatever you choose to do. But I now want you to try and rank them in order of that's going to be a hard one to keep, right down to, oh, that's an easy one to follow. Okay, so pause the video here to write them in order of hardest to keep down to easiest to keep. Great, fantastic. Now, I wonder, are they actually all connected and equally hard to keep and equally most important? I think there's a big part of me thinking that, and you've probably struggled with some of them to try and order them from most important down to least important, and hardest to keep down to easiest to keep. I wonder what would happen if everyone in your school or your town or even your world lived like this. What would happen? Or what would happen if everyone in your school or your town or the world didn't follow this? What would happen? Just pause a second there and just have a moment's thought. Now, I'm just going to stop the screen share there, because I want us to reflect a little bit before we get our helping hands out. I want you to think back to those villains that we considered at the start of our session today. Were any of the characters following humanist values? How could you tell? See, I don't think Scar wanted to think first before acting. I don't think Scar, as a villain, was actually being generous, or was actually being, you know, considerate of other people's happiness. In fact, he was being the complete opposite. Now, I wonder, can you see any similarities between the humanist values and all of the values that we've explored already in the religious communities? Perhaps some of you can see some of the differences, but also the similarities of actually people follow these values so that they can get on with one another in community. Now, as I said, it is time to get your helping hand. Now, I had gone on to a new helping hand from the last session. I wonder if you did as well. But I want you to pause here, and I want you to choose one of the blank fingers or thumb. And I want you to record any words or values which you have learnt today from the humanist community that you think are important for building a community upon. I wonder, see, I'm going to write on mine about some of those most important values, and I'm literally going to write here, think before acting, and remembering people's happiness. I'm just going to put happiness on here, which I absolutely love anyway, because you know me, I get joy into as many things as possible. So that's what I've added now. Think before acting and remember happiness. Those are some really good values to build a community upon. So if you haven't paused the video already to write down your reflections, then please do so now. Great reflecting. In our next session, we will be looking at our own communities again and seeing how what we have learned from the different religions and worldviews and how that can help us build our own communities. We're also going to be exploring how different groups can actually get on together for the same common reason and same common goals within one town. It's quite an exciting little thing to finish off our last 2 sessions of our RE together. It's been lovely spending time with you again today. See you next time. Bye.